Hey, good afternoon, everybody, on a Tuesday afternoon here in sunny. Well, we're actually in multiple different locations, so I can't provide a location. But welcome to Radio Melee. We got Mekk on joining me in PPMD, which, I have been obviously a fan of this guy for quite some time. Mekk, you were at Summit, and that was really cool. You recently had an amazing performance at Shine. Um, PP, why don't you talk to Mekk while I untangle my headphone cable from my chair?
I would love to, Toph.
Okay,
Mekk, now, if you guys
there we
somehow
go.
don't know about this guy, Mekk, you're going to be hearing about
Yeah,
him a lot more. I mean, this
yeah.
guy, the branding on this guy's already going crazy. He ain't stopping. He's doing
Mm,
push-ups. He's
mm.
he's talking about divine puzzles and digital martial arts. We got to get to the bottom of some of this stuff with this guy. But also he's playing Captain Falcon and
Mm-hmm.
he's out here hitting or missing Falcon punches, and we got to get to the bottom of all these things today. We're
I
going to do
wasn't
our
gonna bring it
best.
up. I was gonna let you bring it up, PP.
Yeah.
I was gonna let you bring it up. If you
It
didn't
is,
bring it up, I was gonna
yeah.
bring it up.
We have to. People,
Someone has
Shine
to.
happened. Shine happened. That's what we're going to do first. We have to talk about it first
We
because
have to.
Shine happened, and there were so many influential matches. And Zayn went
Yes.
on a run where he overcame every single one of his demons and won. And what was the story?
True.
It was about Mekk and his Falcon Punch. So Mekk,
Mm-hmm.
darn it, if there's one thing I've seen in my chat, it's not about this run that Zayn went on. It's about you. It's
Mm-hmm.
about how many more Mekk fans there are now. And I would love for you to speak to that. Speak to what you're feeling in the moment. It's if you guys somehow don't know what we're talking about, Mekk versus Lucky from Shine.
A ridiculous,
Game three,
preposterous set of
yeah.
magnanimous
You
proportions.
you couldn't imagine who the outcome of the set based on how the vast majority of Game three went. Now, there's something really important that happens, Mekk. I'd love to hear this from your perspective. What went down, what you were feeling, and also, how the response has been for you.
Yeah, so what went down is I was up 2-0 versus Lucky, and now I'm on this FD match. He goes
Mm,
FD, and that fateful match where it was actually a comeback from me. So Lucky was about to seal the deal on game three, and I swung the tides after he missed a down smash, a ledge dash up, threw
mhm.
him down, attempted to gimp him, and so there was all this momentum that was going there, and the crowd was freaking out, and it was just going towards I'm actually going to win this game, which I almost lost. A forward smash, a knee, and
Yes.
then he was out there up being, and I
Right, he's
just felt
so far out. You could probably just grab the ledge.
Well,
could definitely have
an ordinary human.
Right.
just grab ledge, but I
But
just I just felt it in my soul. I was like, even if there's like a 5% chance, even if there's a 2% chance, imagine, and the crowd's there, and this is a big moment.
right, you were
I,
feeling the crowd, right? That's what that was because it looked like you almost charged up a little bit. And then please tell us what happened after that.
I went for the Falcon punch,
Yes.
and it missed. Missed terribly. It went
Right over
above,
his head. He felt
right
the wind
above his
on it
head.
though. Yeah, terrifying.
He felt it almost like a bullet, and
Yeah.
I and then we went on and through the set, and then he proceeded to reverse 3-0, and I ended up
Yeah.
getting ninth at Shine 2022.
Right. So
I
you
still haven't seen the whole set. I went back and I watched.
you
You've seen
watched
Death
up to the
Note? You guys
Falcon
know about
Punch?
Death Note? You guys know about Death Note?
Oh,
I was
okay.
telling
Yeah,
my
yeah,
Yeah,
chat. It's
yeah, yeah,
like, oh, well, okay, I shouldn't spoil Death Note, but there's an
yeah.
event that happens in the middle of Death Note that kind of changes. And, you talk to a lot of people, they say, well, Death Note's really better. It's really better in the first half. It kind of goes
The
downhill
first
after a
season, the
certain thing
first half.
happens.
Yeah.
So I was
yeah.
kind of like telling people, yeah, I watched the Mech Lucky set up until L. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of how it
yeah.
felt to me. It is funny. Dude, I did this whole analysis of the Falcon, but you know what the crazy thing is, Meg? I was looking at it. I actually thought it was kind of a good idea if you went out sooner, because
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
realized I think if you did it quicker, it might have just comboed.
yeah.
And it
He'd
would
have
have just
had
been a
more
sacred combo.
time to get himself in the right position. He had to kind of rush it there.
Right, right. Because that knee trajectory, you can Falcon. This is all to say. I totally see where you're coming from. Because I was like, yeah, that does make sense. Because he had the exact knee trajectory where, like, if you just immediately went off there and ripped a full jump Falcon, I think it's just a sacred combo. But we'll never
I
know.
mean,
We'll never
well,
know.
that,
We'll get the cookbook on that
And
one.
I wanted to ask you too, because I think a lot of people say, okay, Mekk, he had this lucky set at Shine, the set with Lucky, but you also had victories over Ginger and I believe Polish.
Mm.
And those were off stream. Were those off stream, or I know Ginger was off stream.
Those are both on stream. They are available to view. They're on stream.
I saw the Polish one as it was happening.
No, oh, okay,
Very
yeah,
interesting. Yeah, so
yeah.
I feel like I don't know how you've played it in the past historically, Mekk, but it looked like you were pretty prepared and had
Loved
like
that Polish set.
had a
Wow.
strong game plan for that one. So looked
Yeah,
prepared for
Polish
that.
looked, confused. Like I was like, wow, Mekk just looks like the better player, which I thought was particularly impressive because Polish very strong player, but
Well, thank you very much. I
Yeah.
had a lot of Geech practice for sure. With B-Bats, we have so many sets from online. Eggy from Chicago played since I
oh yeah,
started.
Eggy's good. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Now, wait. What? I had one more thing about this Falcon Punch, Mekk. I'm not ready to let it go. I'm not
Sure.
ready to. I'm not ready to leave it. It's too iconic, apparently.
Yeah.
All right. Have you seen? Because this was like I asked like 500 questions. I do this too often when I ask someone something. But have you seen like a difference in the number of like stream viewers you've had, or like Twitter followers, or anything following like a big influx? Because to me, it seems like, again, so many people were talking about the Mekk Lucky set from Shine. And there were people like, yeah, no, I'm a Mekk fan, and I was like, all right, be honest, was it the Falcon Punch? And they were like, yeah. And so I'm curious, what that's been like on your end. Have you gotten more attention? Do you feel like that's changed for you?
Yeah, I think that the follower count on Twitter has gone up like 200. I haven't really streamed too much since the event, as I've been getting back on getting on that grind. But I have noticed as I pop into Twitch chats more, there are people recognizing that, people commenting, letting me know what they thought about the punch. And so I have noticed a lot of
The punch.
attention attraction to mention that to me, and also mention that in streams that I'm viewing in various media forms.
Yeah. Do you think, I'll try to let it go after this, but do you think that you're going to make more plays based on like excitement, the crowd? Does that something that drives you a lot generally, or is this kind of like new? Like how do you see like this developing for you?
I think that's an important question that I have yet to answer. I feel like there's two dichotomies in Melee that live within me. One of them is
Two wolves.
two
There's
wolves.
two wolves inside me. Yeah.
That one of them is to optimize and do anything it takes to win fearlessly without empathy, just absolutely try and four stock every time. And then there's another side of me that's the enjoyment for myself and the spectator, the sort of creme de la creme of Melee that brings spectators in and makes it attractive and makes it a wow factor. And that's something that could expand Melee, that could actually bring more into the community. And so right now I just play it by ear. I know my goal is to get a lot better at the game, and I think both have merit in the competitive side.
Yeah.
It's really interesting you say that, Mekk, because like this is something that I think, it's funny. We talk about this in the context of like Captain Falcon doing something flashy, right? Off stage or something. But like, I do think this is something that actually a lot of people on some level think about, myself included, right? I think that as a commentator, as a streamer, as a player, just a fan of the game, you're always juggling these different perspectives. Even Hungrybox. I remember there was a while back I was talking to Hungrybox about it, and he was saying, this was back when he was starting to lose pretty regularly against Wizzy. And HBox was telling me at one of the summits, it must have been like Summit 7 or 8, and he was saying, well, if I really want to beat Wizzy, probably the best way to do is I ledge camp the hell out of him, right? Like, that's probably the best strat, but that's bad for the game, and that's bad for spectatorship, and like, I don't want to win like that if I don't have to. I don't want to, people are going to get bored. It's going to cause all this ruckus, and people are going to say, "Oh, this is lame," blah blah blah, and I want to fight him. And that was, to me at the time, I was kind of like, yeah, that is interesting, right? Like you've got to juggle this perspective of you want to win in this kind of emotionless efficiency, right? Versus we all love Melee, and we want to see it thrive. So yeah, that's totally a thing. And I mean, I was thinking about, because I did this whole stream where I was talking about everything that happened in Shine. Of course, we're talking about your set with Lucky, and I was like, at the end of the day, it is good for Melee. It's probably better for Melee than if and Mekk had a hell of a run either way. So
yes,
Can't be too upset, you know. Obviously, you're gonna get more chances to close sets like that out, but
Yeah, it's
I
definitely
see
an interesting
I see where you're coming
conversation.
from. I see where you're
Right.
coming from.
Yeah.
But
To kind of follow up on a little bit of that, and right before I do, guys, exclamation radio melee in
oh,
my chat
how
or
could I
Toast
forget?
chat. No, it's good. We let some people filter in, then we let them know
Yep.
where to go, what to do. Follow the link, hop into the server, submit topics here. You're gonna get pulled
Yes.
in to
Submit topics
waiting
here.
room, mic check. You'll see what everyone's doing. So appreciate that. Um, but yeah, I think something that I want to at least touch on a little bit before we get to some callers
Touch
and
on it.
community voice. I want to at least talk
Touch on
about
it.
that idea of expanding melee and how I think uh you focus, I think, more than a lot of people do, Mekk, on that outside of the game. Again, this is the idea of the push-ups. This is the idea of how you talk, how I feel like you're almost really inspired by melee. Again, digital martial art is something you've been talking about a lot. So I certainly think that you are really compelled in that area, and you act on it, outside of the game a lot, and so now we're seeing it inside the game, a reflection of that too. Can you kind of talk about where? Well, actually, yeah, no. Let's just do it this way. Can you tell us about where these feelings come from? What is it about melee that allows you to feel this way and have it come out in these ways?
Well, I think that Melee is my favorite game. It's my favorite sport. It's my favorite competitive medium. And when you boil it down, there's so many games, there's so many skills and games and sports that humans get good at. It's
Yeah.
endless. There's so many skills that refine and keep getting better at. For Melee, I found it incredibly challenging and rewarding. Um, I've set on this path recently of I want to get as good at this game as possible. And the reason why it compels me so much is that I find that every area of my life is more enriched and filled with wealth because of the path that I've set on to better myself through Melee. My
Can you explain that? Because that's a really profound statement. I'd love to hear more about that.
Well, Melee takes the entire soul. It takes everything you've got, especially if you're aiming for number one or your best self in any given friendly, in any given tournament. So what ends up happening is a competitive medium like Melee, you lose over and over. You experience the pain of loss, and that pain, the very pain that you feel, is the compass of your mind or yourself wanting to make a change so you can get better. As a result of feeling that pain and the loss, you make changes, and those are the changes that I'm talking about. If I want to win the next time, I'm gonna have to be better in these other senses outside a game. It's not just the game. My mentality's have to be better. I'm gonna have to eat better. I'm gonna have to take care of myself, X, Y, Z,
Is that where the
and
push-ups come from?
that's where the push-ups come from. Yeah, the push-ups when I first started,
In case
I
anyone doesn't know somehow, just I'm sorry to cut you off so many times. I just because there's just so much here for I think for people and a lot of value, so I just want to bring their attention to that. Um, when Mekk loses sets, offline, online,
And it
whatever.
started on the stream.
Yes, started on
Yeah.
stream. He would do, I don't know the number of push-ups, but you'll do, several, 10, 20, 30, whatever. And I think that number has been growing, and I think you've been able to do more and more of them. And so this is been part of like Mekk's growth journey. And he said this is something he brought in because he recognized from losing that this was something that could help him grow more. And so yeah, I just wanted to give people that context.
Yeah, so every time I lose, I get down and do push-ups. And it's a symbol as well as actual concrete physical result of a symbol for self-sacrifice for future strength and building up resilience. Um, and when I first started in January, quarantine, and I couldn't do a single one. I actually couldn't
That's
do a single one.
that's the craziest and the coolest part about the story to me. Is you've gone from that, to kind of where you're at now.
Yeah, I mean now you're
Now,
doing, tens of
You're doing a
push-ups.
lot.
I don't know. Are
Looks
you
to
doing
me.
hundreds? Are you doing hundreds of push-ups at tournaments? I don't know how many you're doing now.
at Summit, I think I did maybe hundreds. I was doing
Summit, you
Oh,
got to do a
wow.
lot. Well, Summit, you play a lot of sets. Most tournaments, you only lose twice because double limb. So you really don't do that many most tournaments. That's the good
Yeah,
part.
I mean,
You do
Summit, it's
Summit
like
winners, you do Summit losers, and you're done,
there's,
right?
there's a set every 20 minutes. It's like Gauntlet. Now you have to play it.
Right. That's
Blue
tough.
for whatever.
What about push-ups for Mafia? Do you do push-ups for that? You're like, oh, I could have read that. I could have known that they were giving me tells. Do you do push-ups there, or you're like, oh, that's fine?
Maybe if I'm really trying to get good at Mafia. But
Okay, yeah. I was just curious about the paint of Mafia laws.
Mafia. Yeah.
Now, one other thing. I asked HBox when he was on about pop-offs, and he said if two people pop off together, there will be a fight. But I noticed when you and Jmook did push-ups together, there was no fight. Can you comment on what makes push-ups different than pop-offs, and what do you feel about people doing them with you?
I love it when people do it with me. I've already gone to tournaments where people ask to do push-ups. I've filmed it. I've put it up on YouTube. Uh, I think it's a great ritual. The difference between doing push-ups and popping off and almost getting in a fight is recognizing our own personal journeys on what we're trying to accomplish. We're both trying to get stronger. We're both trying to show our strength and show what we've worked on for the crowd and for people watching and other competitors. And so that's what that means to me when we get together and do these push-ups. Uh, and that's what I meant with I did with Jane and with Salt at Summit.
That's all. You know, it's funny to me, yeah, because I think there's something inherently different. I mean, obviously, both popping off and pushing up are physical in form, or in expression. But you know, to me, at least, popping off it's like celebratory. It marks the end of some kind of journey, right? Popping off to me is the end of a journey. It's like the set's over. I did it. Yes, I did it, and it's about me. It's very self. You know, it's self-centered in that way. It's selfish, not in a negative way, but it is inherently selfish. I did it. I'm celebrating.
I think the
Pushing
bottom
up
line
is mid-journey.
Yeah. I think the bottom line is that the pop-offs come from a big amount of tension from when you're experiencing when you're playing, and then when you pop off, you have to take that out and release it. Now you release it,
Right.
you know, in the air through a yell. Maybe you take it out on a chair. You know, it depends. But push-ups show that you can take that tension within you, whether it's emotional from other things, and put it into something that's constructive.
Right. And, you know, I mean, I have a workout buddy. Me and Dennis go to the gym 3 times a week.
Oh.
And you know, and I take boxing lessons, which is obviously a group thing. And you know, I think there's something very old school about working out, even if it's just doing push-ups with a buddy. You know, I think that there's something very primal and in a very healthy, positive way, you know, about working out with a bro or, you know, or whoever. And that's something that people have been doing since the dawn of time. So to me, I think that's really cool. And you know, it's funny, just to kind of, you know, zoom out a little bit here. We kind of talked about this last week, didn't we, PP? We had Zane on, and Zane was talking about how Zane was saying working out and how at Shine he felt like he had more energy than normal.
He could get charged up. He could handle adversity from being down more. He felt more confident.
Right.
Yeah.
More confident. He's playing, you know, longer days, but he didn't feel as exhausted as he normally does,
Right.
you know, through the weekend. You know, he's able to grind more, play more friendlies, plays with Swift for 5 hours, and he's still, you know, feeling tip top. I think there's something really, definitely a big deal. Jmook came on. Jmook was talking about, you know, working out, meditating. I mean, you can kind of tell with Jmook, you look at the guy, you know, that dude definitely is taking care of himself physically. You can kind of tell. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I really
that's dope.
I really love how so many high-level players now are talking more about being a human that plays Melee and not just being a Melee player. Don't get me wrong. I think that optimizing and everything like that is great. It's interesting. The game's beautiful.
Specializing, if you will. Yeah.
Yeah, but I also think that, you know, we can do that better if we work on our whole selves, and I think this is starting to come together a whole lot more, and it's been easily one of my favorite things that the community's been doing. So I've really loved to see that, and Mekk is clearly someone that exemplifies that, you know, on screen and off.
I mean, you see in like fiction, I've seen some of his posts. He's getting into boxing. You know, a lot of people are starting to realize that this ups my game, you know, more than grinding for hours and hours. Like this is a really mental game, and the working out changes your body, it changes your very biology. It makes you feel really good and prepares you for something like Melee, something that's really tough.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we could go on about this for a little bit, and I don't worry, I have plenty of things that we can ask you if we have time at the end. But I do want to keep things moving along a little bit here, so we'll
Yeah.
transition for the moment into the community voice
Community
from
voice.
last
And
week.
I do want to urge one more time. I want to encourage all of y'all in chat, and especially people watching on YouTube. You guys got to come by every Tuesday, pretty much. I think we're going to be on for at least the rest of the month. Sometimes we take weeks off, but not for a while. 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. East Coast time. You got to come by our streams. We want to hear from more of you guys. There's so many thousands of you on YouTube every week that are tuning in, and it would be so sick to hear more of you guys talk to us live on air. We always get dope questions, but I bet some of you out there, you're leaving such interesting community voice replies that we're about to get into. But I'd love to talk to some of those community voices live on air right here. It really is that simple. Just come by on a Tuesday and spend some time with us. And without further ado, okay, let's see what you're saying in the YouTube comments. Yeah.
Our question
What was Zane's
last
question?
week
It was about
who do we want at Big House 9 finals? What's a matchup you'd really like to see? And we got a few. We got a few here. And
I'll start with Maelstrom 218. PP talked about the Nunzane matchup, but I'd be more excited to see the Bond Wizzy fan matchup. Two amazing Falcon players with such distinct and unique playstyles going head to head. One carrying the torch of S2J's ball to the wall craziness. The other emulating the frame-perfect mechanical precision of Wizzy. Between a contest of these two champs, it'd be fascinating to see which approach is truly superior.
Now, Mekk, this harkens back to the two wolves we talked about earlier a little bit.
Yeah.
Who would you favor in a Bond Wizzy fan matchup?
It's just going to go by feel as I feel in the crowd and in that moment. I mean, it really could go either way. I feel so excited watching either style at different moments. They bring a lot to the table.
Yeah, have you been bonded or talked to Wizzy fan?
You know what? I have never talked to Wizzy fan, but my Dr. Mario on Unranked one time ran into Nun's friend Bond, and yeah, I mean, he said you just got bonded after he took one of my stocks.
I hope you're okay, man. That sounds tough.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's okay. It's just in the game, so
yeah.
Could be worse.
Yeah.
Bond was very fierce, though.
Yes, he is very fierce.
Bond is fierce. Yeah, you started with Mario, didn't you? Did I make that up? You started with Mario.
Oh, I started with Mario. Yeah, when I was
both
playing.
started with Mario.
You guys all started with Mario. None might have started with Mario, I think.
Oh, he started with a few different ones. I don't remember. He was like all over the place. I don't remember how long it was Mario. I know Mango also started Mario.
Does this person want to see
Mango
Bond versus Wizzy fan?
They do. Yeah. They want to see Bond Wizzy fan. I mean, they're very busy people. I know Bond was doing time at some point. I don't really know if he could travel. There's a lot of issues.
I keep hearing about that.
Yeah, I don't really know. But best of luck to Maelstrom. Really see how that one pans out. Phil 714 adds, I love Zane and his rivalry with Mango, but for me it'd be Mango Leffen. I feel like it's been a while since any meaningful set, and I'd like some enjoyable post-interview banter from either of those. Yeah, they do kind of get into it.
They get into it. They get into it. It's really funny. I really like the duality those two have with each other. I thought it was really funny when Leffen lost at Evo, got third, and Mango was rooting for his Guilty Gear opponents, which was, I just thought that was really hilarious. And Leffen seemed to take it really well. I just like the dynamic those two have. And obviously their sets are always, for some reason, they have the best sets. They're never blowouts.
Their connection is almost like a brotherly banter. Like they're kind of prodding each other, just pushing each other. And it really fits Smash Bros. It's that's why I think they have some really good set.
Yeah, it does really fit Smash Bros. That's a good point. Jays and Andy's, who I think I see in Twitch chat at the moment, as a completely unbiased Lovage fan, I think the first Big House was my favorite. As for the next Big House, I'd love to see J Mekk take a major. Yeah, Lovage, it's funny. I watched that first I didn't go to the first Big House. I've been to every Big House since then, but I haven't been to the first one. And the first one was the only one, that wasn't really like a major in that sense. None of the gods were in attendance, but it was stacked. I mean, it was definitely, that was a cool tournament because it was basically it felt like 10 to 15 of, the equivalent of the top 20 were there, but none of the 5 gods. Yeah. So you kind of didn't know who was going to win, which was pretty cool. Yeah. Jamba taking a major would be dope.
Man, I need that so bad.
I feel like it's a matter of time. I mean, I feel like it's just gonna happen.
Yeah, I
If
think
he
so
does,
too.
and in the push-ups he'll do after he wins, that's gonna go crazy. That's gonna be tough. I don't know
Yeah.
what we do at that point. I'll need your response on that when it happens, Mekk, live.
Yeah.
Is he gonna do push-ups? Is that what he said?
Yeah, I'm kidding. It would be crazy though if he did.
It would. It
He's
would.
gonna do some push-ups.
He's gonna do them.
Yeah.
Do 'em.
You better.
We'll make
You
sure
better.
Andres Salvat says, my favorite Big House win is number 9, and I would love to see a Zane Mango rematch. Yeah, this is what Zane wants. We do know that. Zane Mango. I mean, Falco Marth has been just really ever since I feel like Ken Bomb Soldier has just kind of been that set. Just kind of been that matchup. You just see people playing it, and you just want to see more of it because they mess each other up in different ways, and the neutrals kind of need, and so it's fun. It's a fun matchup, but I think Mango's been playing more Fox even lately. But even that was really fun. There was that summit that Mango won, and he played some really inspired melee. So that'd be really fun to see kind of that happen again too. So I think a lot of great answers in here, and I mean, it's really neat to kind of see this and think about how many great finals. It's been a while since we've seen certain matchups, and so it'd be really fun to see a lot of that again. But you know what?
So many players who I think at this point I'd be very happy to see right in finals. Like that's the cool part. And even Axe was saying after Axe went to losers at Shine, I had a chance to catch him backstage, and Axe was like, he didn't seem too upset. And he just kind of said like, man, Melee is just so crazy now. Like, there's just so much that can happen at any given major, and this is even, the crazy thing about it to me is when you really think about it, Shine felt like everyone was there, but but Plup wasn't there, Leffen wasn't there, Wizzy wasn't there. Like, there's so many extremely high level players right now that half of the best players cannot show up, and it still feels so sick. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
which is great.
That's a really good point.
Which is great. It's a really good place for the game to be in.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Well said. Well, hey, let's keep the good questions rolling. We've got an interesting first one here. I'm not sure what it is, but I know who's going to have it. I believe we have Hoagie calling in. He is our boss. What's up, man? Welcome to the show. What's your question today, sir?
Okay, boss is a massive overstatement, but I'm actually going to be asking a question from many time appear Etos.
Etos, yeah, everyone loves Etos.
Yeah. He wrote in, and first of all, Mekk, he says hi, and that he'll see you at MMM8.
Okay, what's that stand for?
And his question is,
I think it's a Minnesota.
Well, that's more of a Mekk question than a me question.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, well, whatever. I was hoping Mekk knew, but anyway.
But the question is, everyone knows having a positive mentality is important, and you have one of the best. How do you stay so positive even after losses? And also, how did you find it in yourself to switch to such a fantastic mentality? And how can other competitors do the same?
Good question.
I think that mentality comes down to an experience answer for me. Just from experience of losing so much, looking at it logically, strategically, about goals. And the fact is, you look at your mentality after a loss, and if you start blaming other things, John call it Melee community, you're taking power away from yourself to take responsibility for what happened and project inwards and grow from that. The more responsibility that you take for something, the more that you see within yourself that you want to change. If you're giving that away and giving that power away and projecting that out onto this and that, you're not going to experience much change, and you're going to be able to experience an instant gratification relief from projecting outwards and blaming other things, which your brain might trick you and think that you feel better now and you feel good now, but it's actually the opposite, which is the medicine, which is to blame yourself and see what can I change to do that made me realize that I need to have a good mentality in this in this game if I want to progress as far as I would like to.
No, yeah, and I mean, great answer. And I think the only thing I would
Mhm.
want to dig into for to hear more from you is, you said it was about experience, and you said it was about looking at it logically, right? So it almost sounds like you've tried Johnning, you've tried blaming other things, and it sounds like maybe that didn't work as well for you. And then when you tried other ways, maybe it worked better. Can you kind of talk more about the specifics? Like if you lose, you thought one thing and it went a certain way, and if you lost and you thought another thing and things went better for you, because that might help people understand more of the specifics and also get to understand how you think about it a little better.
Mhm.
Well, what I want to do, and probably a lot of other people want to do when they lose, are faced with adversity, SD, something doesn't go their
Mhm.
way, they miss a
Mhm.
combo, they miss a tech chase and get spot dodge, shined by Falco and die for it, or something
Mhm.
like that.
R-
You're gonna get emotional. You can get angry. You can get down on yourself and say, like your mind wanders, and it can go into a lot of different
Be
ways.
like,
I know
this character is BS. I knew what they were gonna do, and they still hit me. Like
Mhm.
they're not good. Now, come on, Mech. These are thoughts we've all had them.
these are thoughts that I've had. I've been like, I mean, this is so dumb. This is where I died for that, and I should have got that. It's the controller or something like that. Like,
Mhm,
I didn't get this much. Like, it's like maybe it's not something specific, but it's that
mm,
feeling of entitlement that this should have gone
mm,
my way,
mhm.
and that is what
Mhm.
I'm talking about. That takes the power away. And everybody that's listening, you know what I'm talking about. When you lose,
Oh yeah.
and you lose to your friend, you lose to somebody on unranked, that feeling of pain and loss. That's what I'm talking about. That is a choice and a crossroads for a competitor.
Right. And so when you make that choice and you go down a road where you disempower yourself, then you're not going to be able to really grow from that, is what you're talking about.
Yep.
And so what would it be healthy for them to think maybe specifically, or the type of feeling to focus on, or whatever? If you can give any more specifics to that, that might be useful for people.
Mhm.
I think when you feel really overwhelmed and you're feeling these emotions, or you just got to catch yourself making these excuses. And when you catch yourself, you got to be like, oh boy, I'm doing it again. Let me try and be the face. Let me try and be the best competitor that I can be right now. Well, how would the best respond to this? And you can
I love
try and
doing
emulate that. You can try and emulate that, and you can say, um, I'm going to be humble. Um, I'm going to look inward. I'm going to look at myself and blame myself and talk about with myself. And don't be afraid to look at what is painful. What do I need to change to achieve my goals? Um,
I really like the framing in terms of empowerment. Like it's not about, because I think so many people look at it the other way. So many people look at it like making an excuse or getting it off my chest somehow, like venting my frustrations. That's what will give me autonomy. Like if I John, right? If I like that will let me project my emotions outwardly, and that's how I express. But you basically saying that the act of doing that is actually taking responsibility away from yourself. I've never really heard that framing before, and I think that's really cool. And I think you're right.
Yeah, I think that any sort of joining, if you're blaming, if you're, it's okay to vent. I think with others, a community, and come to a conclusion on how you should move forward. Lessons, coaching, different Discord servers have, or friend groups. But I do think that there's a choice that you have, and you can choose to empower yourself by blaming yourself and looking for change, or you can give that power away by projecting outwards.
Right,
Um,
and
but
Mech isn't
Mm-hmm.
saying that you don't say, oh well, you don't say that, like, oh well, I'm just gonna pretend my controller didn't break. Like you're not gonna ignore what's happening. You're not gonna say that,
Right.
like, stuff
Right.
isn't real, but
Right.
what can you do to learn and grow from that, right? How
Yeah.
did you have a backup controller? Could you have figured out how to play on it even if it didn't work a certain way? Did you have time to practice a different thing, or could you have adjusted your game plan?
Certainly.
Right.
I'm so glad you brought that up because there are actually excuses. There are Johns that are real and that you should
Right.
take a look at. For example, let's say that I didn't perform as well in the set and I had, I was like, oh man, I didn't feel like I slept that well last night. I only had 3 hours of sleep and I know that affected my game. Now, maybe if you said that right after you lost the set to the person who just won, it
Yeah.
might sound like Johning to them.
Right.
But this is something that you can recognize, and that's something that's actually constructive because in
Right.
the future you can make sure for competitions or a tournament or a local that you get enough sleep because you were constructive and reflected on loss and came to the conclusion you need to change something.
Right. You ask yourself the question, what can I do to do better next time? And if you don't ask yourself the question, you just say, "Oh, I didn't sleep well, whatever, that doesn't count." Right, it's like Mekk says, you're trying to just avoid feeling bad about it. And so you're just like, "Okay, well, I'm just going to pretend that didn't happen." But if you say, "Okay, no, there's a reason why this happened and I can do something about it, so I'd like to do something about it." And you just keep asking yourself that, and it's so much more constructive. You feel like you can always grow, and then the next tournament you can go, okay, well, now did I sleep well? Yes. Okay, well, now that's not going to be in the way, and if I done everything
Right.
else to prepare, yes. Okay, so let's see how it goes. And then it just feels like it's a growth process rather than jumping from one excuse to another and just being
Right.
frustrated. That's not a fun
Because
way
then
to
you're
play.
just perpetuating a cycle. Then you're basically just in this loop, where you're like, boo, like that didn't count because I lost because my hands were cold or something. But if your hands are cold and the window's open, you should go close the window. You should fix the thing. Yeah, I think there's something to be definitely something to be said. And I will say, coming from the old school days, PP, you remember kind of how things used to be, where people almost had this notion that you would. I feel like people didn't understand this distinction in the past in a way where
I still don't know if they do that well.
That's fair. That's completely fair. But yeah, people would, even if you undertake, even if you have things you're working on, people kind of wouldn't give you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, it's got to be an inward, it's got to be an intrinsic thing where you've got to be the best. You've got to be your own best supporter. You've got to be the person who sets yourself up for success. And I do think that ultimately having at least a way to get back into a positive mentality after a loss, like if nothing else, if you're talking about within the confines of the same tournament, you see this all the time. People lose their set in winners and they're in a funk and they keep thinking about their set, in a way that's self-destructive even. And they're down on themselves and then they play their loser set. And this has happened to me, and they play their loser set and they're not able to get their mind off. Their mind is still lingering in the past.
Right.
Because they haven't
risen.
risen.
Elimination bracket.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Dude, I always tell this story.
Yeah.
The first time, it's funny. It's me and Scar, back before we were co-commentators. The first time I ever beat Scar was at this tournament where we had both suffered losses and winners. But when I suffered my loss and winners, and I was upset about it because I felt like, the way I played, I wasn't sad. It was very close, and I was like not satisfied with how I lost. And what I did was I actually went into the parking lot and I went for a jog. I was like, I need to get my mind off this. I want to perform in losers. So I jogged around the parking lot like twice. And I got my blood pumping and I came back in.
There it is.
And Scar lost to Scion in winners and immediately was like, whatever, man, let's just play our loser set. Let's just get it over.
Oh, yeah.
And that was when I beat him because, I was tackling the set in the present moment.
Difference.
And I could tell that he was still thinking about his winner set. And I don't think, back then he was better than me pretty clearly. I think in fact, he beat me in pools that tournament. So I think he would have probably won, if not for that tiny difference in mentality. But that kind of thing is super important.
Yeah, there's a notion to want to escape the feeling at all costs. There's a lot of different ways to escape in the society that we have today. We have our phones. We have food can be a soothing outlet.
Yeah, Uber
There's
Eats.
just get a quick, deflection is the word that I'm looking
Yeah,
for. Deflection,
it's a good word. That's a good word. Yeah.
and it's your responsibility to take responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Well put.
yeah, I mean, I think we covered it pretty well. Got more into the mind of Mekk on
Yeah.
positivity and all that good stuff. Well, Hoagie, do you want to say goodbye even though you're not leaving the call?
Yeah. I'll give a shout out to ETOS for the great question. I'll give a
Mm-hmm.
shout out to Zane for calling me his favorite Golden Guardian,
Uh-huh.
and a shout out to the GG Melee YouTube channel. Go check it out. There's a lot of great content.
Yeah.
Even though you will
Yeah.
probably be watching this
Yeah,
on the
the
GG
majority of
Melee.
people, right. Well,
Yeah,
hit
go
that
check
subscribe
it out.
button to all of you who are.
Yeah,
I know there's
yeah.
some pretty
Like,
probably
comment,
reasonable
subscribe,
percentage of you.
engage.
I mean,
Mekk
what's
will
our
be
percentage of viewers that are subscribed? It's probably like 50% or lower
Yeah.
or higher by
Yeah,
some
but
margin. So you should all click that subscribe button.
it's not
I
100.
always say it's at no cost to yourself because these days, if you don't like a YouTube channel's videos, you don't even have to click the unsubscribe button because the YouTube algorithm's it's so big brain that it won't even suggest you the videos anymore.
Yeah.
So you might as well subscribe.
Yeah, I mean, what do you're
It
not
doesn't do
losing
anything,
anything.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
You
Yeah,
might
thank
as well
you, Mekk.
subscribe.
Subscribe now.
It's a Mekk endorsement and also possibly a Mekk threat. So I think you guys legally
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah.
You
Legally.
guys better subscribe.
We're gonna make that a short.
Mhm.
Anyway, let's go ahead and get our next caller and got him ready to go here.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like we got Fives. Welcome back to the program. Where are you calling in from? What's your question
Fives.
for us today?
Fives.
I'm calling in from Texas.
Very
Shout out
nice,
to
very
Texas.
nice.
Yeah,
Very warm there, I imagine.
oh, it's fucking hot, dude.
No, it's gotta be. Yeah.
Well,
I just had
good
to walk-
luck.
Had to
Good
walk
luck
home
with.
from school.
Oh
Oh.
no. Well,
Yeah.
hey, you're hanging tough. It's gonna get a little bit colder, but not too much because it's Texas, but a little
Yep.
bit colder.
Mhm.
Stay strong. Mekk is here to help you with your adversity. Remember that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what's your question for us today, gamer?
My question, Mekk, is in what ways have other Falcon mains influenced your play style?
I'm curious about this too. I think with Falcon, just to preface this, I think Falcon's a really a more interesting character for this than almost any other character because I
Yeah.
think it's so Falcon is so many different playstyles represented. More, I would say, than other characters. But
Yeah,
anyway,
agree.
so I'm curious.
The answer for me is that I feel that every Falcon main around the world contributes or uncovers more of the language or the vocabulary or what's possible in this game more and more. And so I take with, every time I open up a clip from anyone, whether it's Nun, Wizzy, Gatsu, Calm you know, is someone forgetting Bab activated, Salt, all these, like there's more and more and more Chef. It's just they are contributing. Every game of Melee is exactly different. It's really is like you put in the combinations. It's like a monkey typewriting Shakespeare. It's like
Yes.
it's like they all bring something to the table. Every time a Falcon main around the world hits someone, successfully wins neutral, I'm trying to take a look at that and what happened. I mean, that's something that I can consider. And my answer is that I think that I'm inspired by all Falcons to try and put together and fuse the vocabulary they're using to attempt to better myself as much as I can. Now, I will say that particularly the Falcons that have had a lot of success, have had a lot of influence on me in particular. S2J, Wizrobe, Nun, and the 20GX extended Gatsu and Gravy.
Yeah.
For sure. So that's my
Is there so I guess I mean that's well covered. There's not too much to add, but I guess if I had to ask anything to tease it out a little further, I would probably ask, is there a Falcon you go to look at maybe a particular matchup, or if you're like, oh, I want to work on edge
Oh,
guarding,
yeah.
I'm gonna watch Wizzy, or like, is there any other specific or any other thing that you might look for? And I know, and I think it's great that you pull from so many places. I love that, but I was just kind of curious if you had anything else
Mhm.
like specific you might look for.
So right now, my direct goal is to make top eights,
Mhm.
top eights, because once I'm there, then I I think I can go further. But right now, I'm just trying to optimize and clean up my playstyle so that I can win, so that I
Mhm.
can go further and move on. And so actually around right now, I'm looking more at Wizrobe because I'm thinking I want to look at um, the best Falcon objectively that has gone the
Mhm. Mhm.
furthest and taking this character the furthest, and I want to
Okay.
see what they're doing. Now, I'm not looking at him much more by much. I'm looking at everybody, but
Mhm.
Wizrobe in particular. Say in the UK when I didn't really have phone service, I was downloading some Wizrobe sets to look in the on the
Mm,
train, for example. I
mm.
was looking at Wizzy more these days.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
And you feel
Um,
like, is playstyle wise, do you want to become closer to, you know what I mean? Because obviously Wizzy is a very pronounced playstyle. It's really, it's like obvious you're watching Wizzy, right? Like if you take a Falcon and you don't know who they are and you watch footage, it's usually you can kind of tell if it's Wizzy.
So
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 are
so
you
that's
trying to take more techniques from him and things like that, or not even
That's
really?
that's the fun part about melees because each bud blossoms and flowers differently. I guess I would say that analogy because
Hmm.
whatever options I see that are working for me on my growth and path upward, those are going to be rhythmically more frequent.
Yeah.
I'm going to be rewarded by those themselves, the strategy that at whatever works in the game. It gets a stock, it gets an opening, maybe it's a defensive tactic, maybe I'm SDI. All of that calculates and boils down into my style, right? As someone's
Mm-hmm.
style.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So natural, and I don't know, and I can't predict, but naturally, I will be taking by spectating and studying other Falcons. But at the end of the day, my style will come out as is, and I will just be looking at the success rate and what is working and what I think logically is I'm supposed to do in order to provide the best probability of victory.
yeah, up until the Fox is off stage and you're up 2-0. Um,
Had
but
to bring it up. Hey,
dude,
your
it's
words, not
so
mine,
funny.
baby.
It's so funny and it's so iconic. Again, I agree with Nun's tweet about it that it for the long game it was absolutely the move.
Yeah.
100%. But yeah,
It's
obviously
like
not.
Axe playing Fox against HBox. You know, he's not trying to win the set today. He's trying to get experience to win the set
Right.
tomorrow. Right.
Right. And it's not to dog on you, obviously, Mekk. I just think it's a
Oh, I
funny
mean,
thing that happened.
absolutely.
It's cool.
It's funny. It's funny for sure because it's kind of a struggle that I have with like the candy of melee. Like I'm wanting to get
The
into,
candy.
like
I
it's
like
like
that.
Well,
is a restraint that I think.
well, and you also felt, I think a real enjoyment and connection with the crowd when you went for it. So certainly not trying to diminish or downplay that. I just,
Mhm.
but just the way it all turned out was
Yeah,
funny.
that's
That's
how
all.
it
But
did.
but the
That's
feeling
how
of
it
it,
goes.
is cool. That being said, Fives, thank you so much for calling in. You
Yeah.
got any
Thank you,
shout outs for
Fives.
us?
Yeah, no
Any?
problem.
Thanks, Fives.
Yeah, yeah, shout outs. So you're
Mhm.
asking?
Yes,
Uh,
please.
Shout outs to Austin Melee,
Mm-hmm.
Mekk. Mekk, he used to live there. He would come to the
Oh,
tournaments.
yeah.
It was great, yeah.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know
Cool.
that? Well, now you
No.
know.
I
Now
also
I
Now
did
you
know.
not
know.
know that.
He
Austin's cool.
also
I used to go to Austin. I've been to
Oh,
Austin
really?
like 3 or 4 times. Yeah.
That's awesome. You should come again. We're gonna start having 2 locals a week. It's gonna be sick.
Ooh.
Ooh, very
Mhm.
nice, very nice. Well, hey,
That's
thank you
great.
so much, Fives, for calling in. Hope you take care and have a good rest of your day, gamer.
Yeah, you too.
All
Really cool to
right.
hear. Yeah. Fun question for sure. I Yeah, I think Falcon is a super interesting character. Definitely the character that if there's a character besides Fox, I'm trying to get the most I'm trying to improve the most with right now. It's definitely Falcon. Falcon's somebody
Mm,
I play a lot as a secondary. And I think a character who for me, I just think he's really fascinating because like I've always played characters that are really close, really good up close, like Fox, Cheek, Falco, characters with shines they can just scrap. And I think Falcon, the whole dynamic of like, you're really, really powerful unless they're right on top of you and they're stuffing you and you kind of have to reset a little bit. But if you can kind of keep them at the range you want, like he's just incredibly overwhelming. I think it's really helped me improve as a player. So it's always really interesting to me to hear Falcon players talk about kind of their inspirations and stuff like that. Especially because, I mean, I will say maybe I just talk to Scar too much, but I feel like, Mekk, not every Falcon player is as holistic as you when it comes to taking inspirations from other Falcons, because Scar for a long time would say, boo, I don't want to watch this Falcon, I don't want to watch that Falcon. Those guys, they're not doing the things that I want. I feel like Falcon's a character where some of the top players of Falcon don't always resonate with all the other playstyles, which I always think is very fascinating.
Yeah.
Johnny used to dog on the 20GX guys or whatever. Oh, they're not, they're playing different than, you know what I mean? So it's kind of cool to hear somebody like yourself who's coming out and basically saying, no, I mean, I want to take as much as I can get from everyone, not even just the top Falcons, but also all the way down, all the way down the roster, basically.
Yeah, I think the less pride that I have to be maybe blinded by possibilities, the more that I can empower. Yeah, I mean, I'm really, I mean, I say it like you could be beating somebody, and it's happened to me before. We could be in the game, and they're actively giving you advice, and I think it's a hindrance to have that feeling of, well, I'm better than this person, and I don't need to listen.
Right.
I like actively, because people have given me advice and they say, I'm sorry, I don't mean to give you advice. I'm like, no, man, I'm looking for everything that I can.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Go,
Yeah. Yeah.
go ahead. What do you have to uncover?
I think that's a great mindset. I think that's a really good mindset.
Yeah.
Because you're right. I mean, we've all got weaknesses, right? All the way to the top level. I mean, Zane was asking me for. I remember when we were hanging on SoCal last time, Zane was asking me, he's like, yeah, do you think I do take laser forwarder too much as Marth? And then we started talking about that, and I'm like, dude, I'm not on your level. You shouldn't listen to me. But, that kind of shows that when you're at that, if you really want to stay ahead of the competition, you're going to take insight from as many sources as you can.
Right.
And then
It's
you
good to
trust
have outside
yourself to
perspective.
filter. Yeah. It's always good to get perspective. If you trust your own filter well enough, you'll receive all this insight, and then you can decide, okay, this is what I'm going to get out of that, which I think is really positive.
Right, Mekk. When you're top 8ing every tourney and you're going even further beyond, there's going to be tons of people telling you how to play, right? Is what Toph's
Did that happen to
saying.
you, PP?
Yes. And so you'll have to.
What did they say? Sorry to. I'm just really curious. What did they say to you?
I mean,
Sorry, this is fascinating to me.
It's always the people that it's the people that think I can't punish. That comes back so many times.
Just never
so.
played you then,
right?
And then it's the same. Then it's these same people that are like, "Oh my god, it's so amazing when he does up throw forwarder and the forwarder does 40 damage." And it's like, well, that's punish. What are you talking about? How is that not punish? Anyway, whatever.
Those are the type of people that glimpse gameplay and from one sample of an interaction,
like one clip,
define.
Right. Or they listen to, their person, their streamer who tells them, this is how this person is. Like, oh,
yeah.
And so you'd be lucky to get that out of looking at one interaction. But this is not the clown on spectator moment. This is just part of the thing where you're going to get advice that might work better for you and advice that might not be as informed. And again, that's just part of the filtering process. And that's all it is. But it's all part of the journey, like you said.
Yeah, I know some people that there's a lot of like successful people that don't even look like they've completely omitted taking in any comments. They get so many replies, and I think that it's a skill to be able to filter that and understand yourself so well to keep towards your goals. It's just an interesting place. The internet has so much to offer, and there's so much coming at you when you reach a certain point.
Yeah. So I mean, navigating that, very interesting. And I'm also curious how we're gonna look at the segue, navigate this next question.
Yeah.
We got one more caller here, Rox506. Let's go ahead and bring them in. Welcome on in, Rox. Welcome to the show. Where are you calling in from? What's your question for us today, gamer?
Oh, you might be muted.
You are muted.
You might be Discord muted.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, sorry.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Can hear you now.
Hello. So, great.
What's up, dude?
I'm Rox. I'm from Costa Rica. Hello.
Costa Rica, what's up?
Yo.
Pretty good.
I think this is your
Buena
second time calling in. I think you've been on before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Long
nice.
time
Welcome
fan,
back.
second time caller.
Love that, love that. So what's your question for us today, Rox from Costa Rica?
So, Max, you have like this martial arts mentality. So I want to ask you a martial arts question. So, Michael Musumeci is a five-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt.
Oh, I'm ready for
He's a
this.
world champion, right? So, this guy only plays blue belts. It means that, and in a recent interview that he made with Joe Rogan, he says that not only that, he only plays with people that practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as a hobby, not like a profession. So, do you
Wow.
find any value fighting people or like playing people that are way beyond your level? If, for example, Zane was telling this experience he had with Switch, in which enables him to beat Axe. Do you think that do you find value playing people beyond your level, below your
Yeah.
level? Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that the way I can answer this is I feel like when somebody has repeated over and over and has delved so deep into an art or medium, they've really solidified, they've really cemented and crystallized their method of practice. And I think that when somebody is just sort of rising up, almost like kind of like on a honeymoon period of the medium, also still solidifying what they're doing, I feel like maybe lower level players tend to explore more and they're on that
Hmm.
sort of exciting cusp of trying to invent themselves. And for that reason, I think that it could be really rich to invite and have practice sessions with people that are on the cutting edge. And I
Wow.
think yeah, that's what I think. That might you know I'm interested to see why the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion plays with blue belts. I'll try and listen to
Yeah,
that podcast.
did you say, Rox, did you say he
Mhm.
only practices with blue belts? Like only?
Yeah, he only practices with blue belts, and it are
And,
people that.
people that do
Wow.
it as a hobby is what you were also
Yeah,
saying, right?
exactly. So one of the things that he does, for example, is that he sees like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu like a chess match, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that he's like, okay, I'm like having problems with these specific combinations. So
Mm-hmm.
he teach those combinations.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say like he teaches the punish game to the people, and then
Mm-hmm.
he practice against that punish game. So let's
Right.
say
And
like
then they're no longer a blue belt. He's got to go find a new one.
exactly.
Well.
Yeah, but mostly because they are like performing the thing that is hard for him, so he will understand
Right.
like how to resolve those specific situations. So, for example, when I see like Ginger practice in a stream, he go to 20xx and he put a situation and he practiced one and over and over and over and again. And I was thinking, well, what about if you teach this to an actual person? But if you go like, hey, dude, I'm going to teach you this because Mango destroyed me with this thing. So you're going to learn it,
Mm-hmm.
and then I will going to resolve this situation, for example. This is one of the things that he was talking about.
I've heard this kind of improvement style. I've heard this from several people. So Zan talking about Swift was one example. Also, I know SFAT when SFAT was trying to get better at the Puff matchup for a while. This is something he was talking about, like maybe a couple months ago. I saw him at a local, and he was talking about how he actually grinded a lot with CPU Zero from Arizona. and he was having CPU 0, he was helping him with the Fox matchup and basically saying like, here's how I want you to fight me. And here's how I can help you get better. While then when we play, you're going to be able to threaten me and I'm going to be able to practice my counterplay against those options. So you're building up this other player in I think the way that this jiu-jitsu champion did, right? Where you're teaching somebody how to do what you struggle with, some combinations or some kind of neutral game, whatever. And then you get practice against that thing. And I think that this is something that for some reason I've heard this from several players over the course of Melee. Like this is something that I think, especially back in the day with Jigglypuff, I know Mewtwo King did a similar thing going into might have been Big House 3. I know it was probably Big House 3, the tournament where he kind of had that triumphant victory over Hungrybox. PB, I'm sure you've done stuff like this. I think you've talked about. Yeah, you've played with. I mean, right? Your brother.
When I was trying to beat someone, or I was trying to beat Armada, there was a local Peach, and this guy loved Armada. I mean, it was back when pretty much every Peach did. And I, was like, I want to, but there just weren't Peaches. Just didn't really play like him. I just don't think they, a lot of them just did. Analysis is just hard and whatever. And so I was like,
it's hard to be Armada. I mean,
it's also just hard to be Armada. But I was like, look, float at this height. And then if I get close, do this, and then just mix it this way. And so it was really simple. But I was like, just with the starting, I was just like, okay, first just float at this height and do this. This is just a good thing to do in the matchup. And so when they did that, I was like, great, that already feels much more like Armada. I was happy I got to practice. They were happy they got to be Armada. Claps all around, good times. I mean, it really is that kind of simple where you can just tell someone that, and it's good practice. And so they get better, and then they'll want to play you more because maybe you'll tell them another thing, or they'll get to practice more, and then you like it because you get to work out that stuff. And so I love it. I try to encourage other people to do it. In the past, people didn't try to do this as much. There also wasn't an Uncle Punch, though you could even do this sort of thing. But there's something nice about having a human do these options against you because it's more dynamic and you can get them to mix things better than an Uncle Punch CPU can. So there's always going to be a place for that, and it's always going to be really valuable. And players are more willing to lab and do certain kinds of practice now than they were in the past. So that's also really nice. So I think that's really cool. About the other part about only playing people below your level. Yeah. This is something that has been pointed out. I know Leffen was kind of calling out various people about this years ago. There's something about, I don't really know what angle I want to take this from. There's something to the idea of just testing things. Like if you play like someone that is several tiers below you in skill, you get so much more time to experiment while you're playing and to tell them things to work on. It feels much more lower pressure. It's a little more free form, which can be helpful because when you're at a higher level feeling all that pressure, sometimes it's nice too when you're practicing have lower pressure. Obviously playing someone, at your level, or if you're, pretty high level, but you're not the tippy top, if you can play someone above your level, that can be really good because it pushes you to go harder. And it's almost like doing tournament matches, but you're not in tournament, so that keeps your mind in it. All that stuff's really valuable. But I mean, there's also just kind of the fact of the matter that the higher you get, even going up top 100, there are just so many less people that are gonna just inherently be on your level, or maybe more people are busy, or depending on where you live, it's just harder to get someone at a given time, and so you're just going to be playing people below your level more often anyway. And so finding a lot of value in that's good. Now, whether you make that your only thing or not is its own thing. Right. And there's a lot that can be said about that. I don't really want to get into all that.
Like Laud is somebody who, when we talked to him at Summit, Laud was like, yeah, all my practice. Like we asked him, like, how are you performing so good all of a sudden? Like literally you skyrocketed over the last 3 months. And Laud was like, honestly, you see me wearing this tag, this Leo tag. He was wearing this tag Leo. And he's like, yeah, Leo is just the Smurf name I made up on Unranked. And my only source of practice is I go on Unranked and I play White Peach with this tag Leo. And I feel that adopting this persona of this other Peach player that doesn't exist lets me experiment with new options that I've never done before. And that's my only real source of practice besides tournaments. On the flip side, I think there are plenty of players, myself included, who probably, should play better players more often. Like this is something I was talking with KJH about recently, Kalindi. And Kalindi was telling me, like, it really depends on the player. There are certain players that are going to get a lot out of, for example, Unranked, where you can go on and play people who are a little bit below your level, right? And then there are players, and then, and that's going to help you with like your punish game, or, dealing with common options, or like, people used to call it like, pub stomping, noob stomping. Like, you develop this play style that is very good at getting out of pools or whatever. You're good at against common options. And then I think, there's something to be said for getting practice against better players who are going to help you try to clutch these tough situations, or when you really like push you to have to make these outplays. And I do think that at the end of the day, there's value in playing people across a lot of different skill levels. And I think what's really important is just knowing yourself and knowing what you need. Some people need to do more VOD review than they currently do. Some people idolize and obsess about. I've definitely run into a lot of melee players in my path, who like overemphasize playing people better than them, and they're always seeking out playing people better than them, but they're never really improving because they're just kind of getting beaten, and they're not actually practicing their combos or their tech skill, for example. And I've definitely run into a lot of players like this, especially in kind of my local regions, where it's like, man, these people, they always want to play the good players, but they never seem to improve because they're not convincing themselves that they can win. It's very funny. I think there's kinds of situations you run into with people, and I think the most important thing is knowing yourself and knowing what helps you improve.
Yeah, what do you think, Mekk? Because I feel like you're ready to chime in on this one. What are you thinking about over there, man?
Well, I think that it comes back to the idea that there's an ability to draw out betterment from really anybody. It's the same thing was what's your influence for Falcon influence? Well, every Falcon brings something to the table. The reality is, if you're playing against somebody and they hit you at all, they win a neutral exchange.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how strong their punish is. You might not have died from that interaction, but you can pretend. You can say, if you're imaginative enough and good enough at getting better, you can say, "Hey, I just lost a neutral exchange. I could have died if that was somebody else," or like vice versa. Uh, you can get better, and there is value in playing people below your level for that reason too.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
all bring new stuff, and you're gonna get better as a result with the right mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how do you, I guess, to kind of tease a little more out of you there, Mekk, what's your current approach? What's your current preference? Like if you had to break down percentage wise, people above your skill level, at your skill level, below your skill level, what do you think is the percentage that you like to play at for your optimal growth, optimal performance?
I
Mm-hmm.
think it's really hard, to say first to find somebody exactly at my
Right.
level. Sometimes it comes up and it's really cool. I would say that in terms of the pie chart, like the actual division, maybe I would say it's 65% players that are better than me, and uh, 35% of players that are below my level. And this is simply
Mm-hmm.
because the amount of time that and what I do with my time. There's times that I go on unranked, and most of the time that's going to be people. 95% is going to be people below my level. Sometimes I run into
Mm-hmm.
hacks money,
Best
and
of
then
five?
I
best
hear
of
that's a
best
East
of five.
Coast phenomenon. I have yet to run in. I think it's just because I'm on the West Coast. I see the legends of Hacks BO5.
Yeah, he's there. He's beating everybody up, and he's
Yeah.
moving fast,
Yeah.
and so that's on unranked. I spend time on unranked, but you see at a tournament, especially when you get to a certain level, maybe like just pre top 8, like top 100 level,
Mm-hmm.
you're
Mm-hmm.
getting you play a lot of sets, and then you get to the point where now you're hitting a wall where this is the person that's going to beat you if you're not getting first place. And so
Right.
that ends up being the top, like maybe depending on the size of the tournament, 30 to 20% of the tournament is now who you're playing, and that takes up your time. So that's what I would say is what I end up playing in terms of skill level.
Right. So it almost, correct me if I'm wrong, but it almost sounds like you're trying to get more used to the specific people that you're going to be seeing there because that number of people that is above you is shrinking. So you want to get more used to those specific players to know how to handle them when they come up, rather
Mm-hmm.
than just wanting to play someone stronger for something about that. Is that right or is that not
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I think I might as well, it is shrinking more and more, and there's people that I see coming up more frequently, like the repetitive people that show up, like Hungrybox, Moki show up
Yeah.
again,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
then there's people that I would divide, people that I have taken a set off of, and I have successfully, been able to do it, and there's people that I haven't taken a set off. HBox is someone that I haven't taken a set off of, and so that's where I would build my strategy from there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, good answers, good
I
discussion
like that
all around.
distinction for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
very important.
Yeah.
Rox, thank you so much for calling in today. Got any shout outs for us on your way out?
Shout outs to you all people to having like this podcast is great, and I
Yeah.
believe like it's not. I was telling this to Oka. It's not common, or it's really difficult to have like this level of organization, so you can put people in the community to talk. I'm from the other side of America. I'm Central America.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here
Mm-hmm.
talking to you, so this is
Hmm.
great, and shout outs to you for giving this space.
Shout outs to GG for
Appreciate
helping make
that.
this
Yeah.
happen too.
I want to hear from more to everyone watching on YouTube and audio and stuff. I want to hear from more Central America callers, man. It's always a pleasure. When we get callers from Europe, when we get callers from Central America, South America, other regions, I think, you know, it just kind of makes me happy to know that there's Melee fans all across the globe like that. So always a pleasure.
Um, well, hey, yeah. I think that's all we're gonna do for callers today. I'm
Yeah.
trying to
Thank
decide.
you everyone who called in.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was good questions, good
And
discussion,
E-Tossed.
and e-tossed. got to
Tough.
have
Yes.
Hoagie call in. That was fun. Yeah. So Toph, is there a burning question you want to
You
ask
know,
Mekk?
yeah, what do you think, if you had to say one thing, what's your goal right
Mm,
now? You're not stopping, but
he's not.
what are you not stopping until? Right?
Uh,
Is it until number one?
I
Or
my
or what's the next step? Or maybe it's just the next step. What's the next step?
So my absolute goal with this game is number one in the
Hmm.
world. That's my absolute goal. Now
Now,
I'm
is
gonna
that the end of year, like the end of year rankings?
yeah.
Okay.
I find that putting the highest goal in front of me will enrich my life, and I think good things will happen while trying to stretch for that.
Mhm, mhm,
And I'm learning so much through that path, and so
mhm.
that's why I chose that goal. And it's recently happened that way.
Yeah. So long term, number one, I'm sure even when you get there, you won't be stopping. If we've learned anything about Mekk, we've learned that.
Mhm, mhm.
But shorter term, what is the most short term goal? Maybe something you want to achieve, this week, or I imagine you're going to Riptide. Are you going?
So, no, the next
Okay.
tournament I'm going to is the Ludwig
Ludwig's
Invitational.
Mm.
Invitational. So, do
Okay.
you have a goal for that? Is there something like more short term? Is there like a technique you want to master? What's the short
So
term Met goal what's the next step on the way to number one?
my short-term goal is to improve my discipline with working out and get in a gym.
Mm,
Is to stream more frequently and also take the game even more seriously and be disciplined. By when I get into friendlies, all my practice time time that I put towards melee, I want to be really serious about when I'm playing and just try and bring the most out of me. Try my absolute hardest to force stock the opponent every time, no matter what. And if I don't, then ask myself why. So I want to step it up.
okay. Okay, so you feel currently you're not giving enough to melee then?
No, I think that there's more. I think there's more that I can give. Here's something I would explain. Um, let's say that you're in a match and all of a sudden you find yourself at last stock and your opponent has three. When you have last stock, that's when you realize, oh man, I got to make a comeback right now, and I have to play the best band that I possibly can right now. Now the thing is, when you're looking for strategies, you'll be like, okay, well, what happened to those previous 3 stocks? The thing is, if you played like you were 1 stocks to 4, you were down
Yeah.
the entire time and you commanded that energy and you put yourself somehow in that mindset, you would play a hell of a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And you may even I've seen momentum shift, and it's just that idea of there is more in the tank, and there is more that I can will from myself, and not to mention that leaks out into other areas in life as
Right.
well.
Right. So always trying to give more, very valuable. I hope, as someone who had Cody on and Cody was doing 400-hour work days, I said to him, and I will also say to you, I hope you don't burn out doing
Oh,
that. But
yeah.
it's just something that I feel needs to be said.
I
But
don't know. I feel like Mekk's not in any danger of burning out anytime soon. For what it's worth,
I'm in the thick of it.
something tells me.
I am trying to lighten up. I think there's going to be a new YouTube content. I have some ideas for
Ooh.
maybe some skits or some funny situations, interactions
oh
happen
man,
all the
Mhm.
time in
content
Melee.
man now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that would be really cool to bring too.
Yeah,
There's a lot.
so what's the YouTube channel? Let's shout it out. YouTube.com/Mekk.
Almost to 1,000 subscribers, but
Very good.
Okay.
it's SSB Mech right now.
SSB Mekk. Same as your
Mekk,
Twitch.
MEKK, by the way, for the audio listeners who don't have
Yeah.
access to what's on the screen
That's
there.
true. Well, they can
MEKK.
see their the title of the episode or
I
whatever.
guess that's true, but I'm not taking chances. What if they're driving and they just didn't think
That's
about it
true.
after they started? I
Yeah,
don't know,
That's
man.
true.
Just trying to
That's
help.
true.
I just want to
You
help.
never know.
thanks for the shout out, and also one more thing,
Mm,
the YouTube is going to have uploaded very soon tonight
ooh,
Wow.
a Shine remembering, like a highlight video
Like a
on Shine.
retrospective.
yeah.
And it's a really good editor. His name is
Ooh.
Chirp, and he's I think you guys will like it, especially when the punch comes around. I think it's going to be great.
Beautiful. He is talking
Gotta
about the
look out for
Falcon
that.
punch, by the way. He's not
Yeah.
physically punching anyone. He's a nice
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Um,
Or getting punched.
You got to subscribe.
You got to well, yeah.
do gotta
Subscribing
subscribe.
a little different.
Yeah.
Subscribe to Mekk as well, please. SSB
Well, I'm
Mekk.
gonna go subscribe right now so I don't miss that video when it comes
Yes,
out. For people
sir.
listening or watching this on YouTube tomorrow,
It'll be out.
that video might already be up. You might as well go navigate over and go check that out.
GG Melee.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. GG Melee SSB Mekk, the collab of collabs.
That's right.
Now,
I guess
Mekk,
the only thing left, right, is
there's only one thing left. It is the question, Mekk. It is the question that only you can ask. Only
gotta turn the
you
tables.
have the
Now Mekk
insight,
asks.
the wisdom, the
Yes.
fortitude to ask to our beautiful YouTube audience. Yes, that's right. It is the community voice. Mekk, it is your question. It can be funny, serious, whatever. Who would
Mhm.
Elijah Woodmain? We've asked it. We got some answers, but we've also heard about, what is the grand finals you'd like to see. So it really can be whatever you're interested in. And what do you got for us today, Mekk?
Okay. Now my question to you, community voice, is if you could bring back or bring forth any Melee player, any a known player, your brother, your sister, your friend, your uncle, and bring them forth and have them powered up to #1 level, and now you get to watch them reign, and you get to watch
Wow.
them just totally destroy everybody and have their #1 era. Who would it be and why?
And why? I would say Bennis W. Bennis W has the best pop-offs in the world, but unfortunately, it's very rare that he gets the opportunity to showcase these pop-offs because he doesn't usually win. So I would love to see Bennis W versus Hungrybox every grand finals.
Yeah.
The two best popper offers in the world, playing
Maybe
the
him
highest
and
level.
Cody, so both of them can pop off.
Yeah. All three of them, maybe. Somehow there's a free-for-all tournament.
There you go.
All three of them are going at it,
Yeah.
My answer is Bennis W.
Yeah, Mekk, who is someone that you want for that?
Oh man.
You were going to ask the question, you didn't have an answer,
Well, it sounds like for Mekk, it might be himself.
but
Well,
Mekk,
I think there's
Mekk
got to be
is still.
somebody
Maybe
else.
that's cheating. Maybe that's cheating. He has to be somebody
Well,
else. Yeah.
He's not there, right? You can't bring him back if he's already there.
I guess for the sake of research and also seeing what would happen, maybe bring Jeff back, bring
Wow. Yeah.
bring Silent Spectre back, who I saw in the Falcon round robins, and that's kind of
Mhm.
where I got it. And his number one era, what would that look like? That's
Yeah.
what
That'd be fun. I mean, just even him
Not
being
a bad
like
answer.
top 20-ish in the world or whatever he was back when
Yeah.
he was carrying Melee on his back and Brandon and Phil were screaming every week. I mean, that was a
Mhm.
fun time. That was probably
It
some of
was.
the most fun. That's probably actually no, it was. It was the most
Wow.
fun time for Melee for me. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Fair.
more than
Very
that,
fair.
Brandon and Phil commentating a grand finals where Jeff is he's just grabbing a Spacey out of their side B somehow in 2022. I would be
Yeah.
insane.
Wow.
Yeah. None does still go for
Yeah.
that.
He does.
For what it's
Yeah.
worth.
It's so exciting.
That'd be cool. Um, my answer is me, and if I can't say me, I'm gonna say Isaiah
Can't say
I love
yourself.
Isaiah. I'm gonna
Isaiah.
say me.
Isaiah's a good one.
Isaiah, wow.
I freaking
Yeah.
love
He'd
Isaiah.
be coming. Yeah, you coming back would be sick.
That would be so
Yeah.
much fun. Because I freaking worked for this for a long time, and this is a beautiful game. I completely am in alignment with Mekk there on that. What you can do to express yourself through it is so much fun. I think it's an elaborate, magical dance. I think you get to know
Mhm.
someone on a level that that is beyond words, that is beyond anything else. And when you connect with them like that, when you really feel someone else's soul, whole presence, I think there's just something magical about it. There's something almost beyond human, and I love that. I live for that, and I to experience that through the game on such a level when you really feel it at the highest level, I think is so beautiful. So
Mhm.
that's
Much
that's
agree.
something that's something that I'm chasing, and having my own self-expression obviously as part of that is just wonderful. So yeah, that's why it would be me. But obviously Isaiah is, I think, it was just a really magical player.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see a lot of him when he was super active. I think he was pretty much done by the time I started. But
Same
I
here.
mean, I went back and watched some of his stuff, and I get why people liked him. I think he really did see the game different. He was really cool, and to see him care and what he would bring to the community, especially at a time where Falcons are doing so much, and he would be doing things that are just
Right.
kind of in its own way. Still, it would still be different than what everyone's doing right now, and it would be really fun. I'd really enjoy that. But yeah,
That's so cool to hear. That's so cool to hear from you.
yeah,
Mhm.
man. I think this has been a fun episode. Thank you so much, Mekk, for coming on, sharing your insight, and everything else. I look forward to. I know you won't stop, but I'm looking forward to all the steps, all the milestones along the way. Good luck with your goals and everything else.
Thank you
And
so much for saying that.
you're very welcome.
And,
Thank you,
and thanks
Toph.
for having me on. And
Yes,
Toph,
yes.
Yes. Thank you. I mean, listen, I'm sure it won't be the last time. And
Yes.
I think the cool thing is how much of I just think listening to you speak is particularly inspiring. I think for a lot of people out there, that's why they're drawn to your particular path. And I hope that path continues in a very positive manner, Mekk.
thank you so much. I'll do my best.
All right.
Can't
Well,
wait to see what's next for you.
on this beautiful note,
Yeah.
we're going to
PP,
get
thank
out of
you
here.
so much.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you guys all out there. Thank everyone.
That's right.
And we will see you next week. This is Radio
Next
Melee,
week.
signing out.